Hello and welcome to another one of Dynamic CCTV's technical videos. Today we're going to take a look at the major updates with the 1.6 version of Hik-Central. So what we've got open here is the Service Manager. This is the back-end software of Hik-Central. This is the controller of the different services that run within Hik-Central. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take a look at the AMPR. The new integration with the entry and exit management, which basically allows you to set up a car park within Hik-Central and allows the software to manage that car park. We're also going to take a look at the Intercom integration in Hik-Central. So this will be for both the 2-wire Gen 2 intercoms and also the IP Gen 2 intercoms as well. So if I go into my web client for Hik-Central, so for anyone that's familiar with the Hik-Central software, all the back-end configuration is done via the web client. So if I log into my test server here, and this is the page that you'll be greeted with. So what I can do is I've got a few different things on here. I can go into my license details, and this will bring up the licenses that I've got available to me. So you can see I've got an AMPR camera module, 2 currently added to the system, and I've also got in the video intercom as well on this license. I do have that enabled. So what I can do is if I go into my physical view on the web client, this is where each of our physical devices will be added in the Hik-Central software. So you can see there I've got an entrance AMPR camera already added, as well as an exit camera. So once those are added in via their local IP addresses, there's a nice easy way through Hik-Central in order to get into the web front ends of those units in order to be able to set up the left hand and right hand lanes for the detection. I can click on the configuration cog here. And what this will allow me to do is get straight into the web front end of that specific camera. Hik-Central has already authenticated me as having permission to be able to do this, so I'm not having to remember the username and passwords of those devices, just my Hik-Central login details. So for the AMPR camera, if we go into road traffic here, and there you can see that I've got my left hand border and my lane line drawn already, as well as the detection line. This setup, what I'm going to be doing to do the demo is using a toy car with a license plate wrote on. This is just so I can show this working in real time. So that's drawn up there and enabled at the top. The other important thing to do when you're in the web front end of the camera is to set the linkage actions on the whitelist, blacklist and others list to notify Surveillance Center, and this will allow Hik-Central to then be able to receive the events from the actual camera itself. So once that's done, just save that and close the web client, and I have already done the same on the second camera as well. So once they're both added, if we then go into our vehicle section on the web client, so this is the section you'd go in to manage any of the allowed lists or barred lists for AMPR cameras. So you can have vehicles added to an allow list where it would automatically open the barrier if it's on a car park or a secure building, and a barred list where you can have it configured to send alerts through to any Hik-Central control clients. It's a nice and easy way of adding a new license plates into an allowed list or a barred list or any other vehicle list that you want to add to the system. All we need to do is click on the add button there. I just type in test plate there. I can put in a vehicle type, so I can say it's a compact car, colour, and I'll just select Audi for this one. We can then put in the owner's name. If there's already a person added into Hik-Central, I can click on person list there, and I can actually add myself into the license details there. So you can see it's got my first and second name imported, as well as my phone number. So I click on add, and that's my vehicle now added into the allowed list for that. So it's a nice, simple, easy way to manage multiple whitelist and blacklist on the actual system. With a standalone NVR or AMPR camera, you would need to export an Excel sheet from the camera or NVR, then enter your number plates, save that and then upload it to the device again in order to be able to change anything on that list. Whereas with Hik-Central, just simply log into the web front end and either add or remove or edit any license plates that are already on there. So that's been a feature for a while within the Hik-Central software. What we do now have is 2 new tabs within the vehicle section. So we've got parking lot and entry and exit rule. If we go into the parking lot section, you can see I've got a parking lot already created called Dynamic CCTV. If I click on edit on that, so when you initially go into this page, when you first run the software, it'll ask you to create a parking lot name and set your capacity within that car park, so how many spaces are actually physically available, and then the number of current free spaces, just to zero your vehicle count within there. And we can also set a max parking duration and an expiration prompt in days as well. So I've set the maximum parking duration for our car park to 3, and if I save that, what you then need to do is add in your entrance camera and your exit camera. So I've already done that on this system here. So if I click on edit on my entrance camera, you can see I've set the lane type to entrance, I've called it entrance lane, and I've selected the capture unit to be the entrance camera. What you can also do is link it to an access control device or video intercom device, and that would allow you to set the barrier control to use the alarm outputs on that device if you wanted to do that. But for this demo, we're just using our physical AMPR camera to do this. You can also use an LED dot matrix screen as well, and so this would allow you to display a number plate that's been detected. You can also show the enter and leave time within a car park, and it can also be configured to display a custom text message on screen when a specific license plate is detected. So if we go back into it, so we've got our 2 lanes set up there. We then need to set up our entry and exit rules. So for an open car park, the best way to have it configured is to have vehicle rules for any vehicles that aren't in the list to automatically open the barrier. So any vehicle that's detected on the AMPR camera, it will open the barrier and it will just log their entry and their exit times from the actual car park itself. And I've also got it set to automatically open for any vehicles that are in any of the lists at the moment. This can be configured depending on the requirements on site. So it may be that you have an operator sat in a booth and the client would then want to have a manual control. So whenever a plate's detected, the operator would get a pop-up on their Hik-Central control client, and they can then manually allow that vehicle into the car park. So now that I've got those set up, what I can now do is go into our Hik-Central control client. So if I quickly load that up now. So if I log in here, you can see we've now got a new option within the surveillance section for entrance and exit, and this is for the entry and exit module within Hik-Central or parking module within the software. So if we click on that, so this is the actual control client software. So you can see for the entrance and exit, so you can see there I've got the number of free parking spaces. So at the moment there's 13 spaces available in my car park, and you can see a few different plates that I've had running through the system as vehicle records. By default, the control client will automatically display the last capture that was taken. You can manually swap that to the live view of the camera images. So what I'm going to do now is, if I hold up my toy car here to the entrance camera, you can then see that that's detected on my entrance camera and also my exit camera at the same time, just because of the way I've got it set up within our demo here. So it's got the entry time, the left hand side, and also gives us magnifying option for an operator. So this has automatically logged me both in and out, just the way I've got it set up in the room. Can do if I get to trigger again on the entrance camera. Last bit out. So you can see there we've got our vehicles as they've been detected, our entrance and the exit camera. We can use the magnifying glass to get a better image of the vehicle plate that's been detected, and it will also give us our vehicle detection records down at the bottom of the screen. What we can do is, if for example vehicle has entered the premises and they've done something and we'd like to be notified if they enter the car park again, what we can do is click on the add to vehicle list button there. We can select the barred list. It's already entered the actual license plate number for us, and we can then click add, and that will add that vehicle straight onto our barred list within Hik-Central. So now we're going to take a quick look at the intercom integration within Hik-Central. So now Hikvision have brought in the ability to add both the second generation IP intercoms and also the second generation 2-wire intercoms into Hik-Central. So this allows you to centrally manage a much larger intercom system a lot more easily and quicker than you can with the IVMS 4200 software. What we'll do is I'm just on the web client here, just going into license details, and if I scroll down you'll then see I've got the option for video intercom enabled on my license for Hik-Central. So it would start as a base license, which would allow you to add 10 intercom indoor stations and 2 door stations as a base license for the intercom module, and then you can then purchase additional add-on licenses for the indoor stations and also additional door stations, so it's scalable to meet the requirements of the site, which makes it really flexible for different installs. So if we go into our physical view here, this is where any physical devices are added into the system, and if we go to our video intercom device, you can see there I've got my indoor station and my door station already added into my Hik-Central server here. So if I go into the indoor station first, you can see I've entered in the community numbers and the building numbers, as well as the room number, which I've just set as 101 for this unit here. I can also then see all the alarm inputs on the indoor station, and I've already set the resident name as myself just for this test here. This feature will allow me to call through to the indoor station as an audio only call through the control client, which I'll show in just a moment. What you can also do is access the main configuration for the intercoms through the web client. So if we go on to the configuration cog here and then scroll down, we've got an option to reboot or default the unit. You can also add in additional cameras that relate to that unit that are already added into the Hik-Central server, and we also have an option for remote configuration. So if I click on that blue link there, it'll take me into a similar kind of interface that you'd have seen for the remote configuration through IVMS 4200, but this one's built into the web client of Hik-Central. So I can go into our intercom section, edit any ID configurations, and also in our network we can configure our link network. So you can see there I've added the main door station IP address, which is the door station that I'll be using for this setup here. So that's added in. And then similar with the door station configuration of Hik-Central, this gives us a few different options here. So you can see it's already linked and detecting it being linked to the indoor station as well as the doors. So I've got the ability on this door station unit to wire in 2 doors to the actual main unit. If I go back there, and if we go into the configuration on the door station, you can also see I've enabled the option for call management center. What this will allow you to do is set the main button on the main camera module for the intercom to actually call through to the control clients Hik-Central. So you can actually receive a call on the PC that's connected to the Hik-Central server, which I will demonstrate as well. And if we go into our configuration for this one, and go into Intercom and then into Dial. You can see that the key number 1, which is the main key on the actual camera module for the door station, is set to call the management center, which in this case will be the Hik-Central server. And then if I go to the sub module option, so I've got a name tag module connected to the main camera module for the door station. If I click set on there, I've also got the first key on the name tag set to room 101, which we've seen earlier I have got my indoor station set to. So now that's all configured through the web client, I can then open my control client here. I just log in with my admin details. So now you can see we've got a new option in our tools section for video intercom. If I click on that, you can then see it's got me listed as a resident, and that's because I've assigned myself to my indoor station for this one. So I can click on call there, and that will actually call through on my indoor station, which you should now be able to hear. And I can then answer that and talk through. And I'll stop that just before the starts feeding back, just because of the close proximity. And I can also press the first button on the name tag module, which is then calling through to the indoor station, which we've configured through the web client of Hik-Central. If I just reject that, what I can then do is press the button on the main camera module of the door station, and in the bottom right hand corner of my screen you will then be able to see the call come through on the system. So there you go, we can see that in there in live, and I can then answer that call. Just mute that on mine, just lower those volumes down. So you can see that we have the option to unlock the door, or we can lock it depending on the scenario that we've got, and we can just end the call. For this one, if I click unlock door, then you should just be able to hear that it's actually opened the door, and I can then end the call. So that makes it a lot easier when you have, looks like as a concierge desk, you can use the Hik-Central system, essentially manage the intercoms, and then have a concierge desk for the units. If I go into the monitoring section and then bring up our door station, you can see it's linked up the cameras from the unit, so the main camera module and then the 2 doors. If you had different cameras, you can assign cameras to each of the doors through Hik-Central, and we can manually go in and unlock the door and keep it remain unlocked on the system as well. What you can also do is have it trigger an alarm on the Hik-Central server itself. So if I go into our alarm center here, you can see that I've got a call come through there from the door station, which I've configured as an event, and you can also configure it to take a capture whenever the call center button is pressed on the door station for that one. So now we're just going to take a look at one of the other features that has come into the Hik-Central software. So if I jump back into the web client and go back to our home page, we've now got 2 new icons towards the top right hand corner, and this relates into the access control system, so the Hikvision access control units. What this allows you to do is, if we go into Start, it's a nice easy tool in order to set up your access control system through Hik-Central. So it's a walkthrough wizard that will take you through all of the setup functions through the Hik-Central server, which makes it a lot easier for engineers on site and walks them through the setup through the units. There's also an access control test tool, and this is quite a powerful feature and will help save some time for engineers on site. So if someone adds in a new card or a new person with specific access rights to only be able to open specific doors within a given area or within a specific time frame, once that person's been set up, you can actually use the test tool to check their authorization levels and whether or not they can access the specific access points or door stations according to the settings that you've configured, which can then save engineers having to do a walk test on site around the doors to make sure that person has the specific access rights they intended, which can help save a lot of time, especially on larger systems with lots of doors in the building. The other feature that they've put in within the test tool is the check access point. The access points are the doors within the intercom system. So if you add in a new door on the Hik-Central server, once you've done the configuration, you can then check to see if that will work according to the current settings that you've put in, which makes it quick and simple in order to check the access control system to make sure that it's set up as you intended it to be. So that's just a brief overview of some of the new Hik-Central 1.6 updates. You can always get in contact with us here at Dynamic CCTV for any more of the features. We can help you with any of your Hik-Central installs. We offer full end-to-end support on the Hik-Central software and also the hardware solutions as well. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please keep an eye out for further videos on the Hik-Central software, and I'll see you next time. Please remember to like and subscribe as well, and we'll get some more videos out to you. Thank you.